Everybody, welcome back to some FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm Schmeger 31. We've got 11 games on Wednesday just because of the 4th of July being tomorrow. All 30 teams are playing. So it's not the normal like getaway day for some of them where we have like a day slate and a night slate. So 11 games, 705. There's a 4 game turbo slate before that, but I'm not going to be covering that here because we got plenty to talk about in this 11 gamer. Not too many weather concerns, maybe a little bit of rain in Kansas City for the Tampa Bay. We have some pitching options. We have some hitting options. I think it's going to be a good slate here for us. So let's get into it. Cincinnati and the New York Yankees. Andrew Abbott and Carlos Rodon. Abbott, I don't like here. He's an okay pitcher, but I think it's just going to put him in my 150 max if I'm playing with low exposure under 5%. The Yankees, even though with some injuries, still have some power with the Judge and JD Davis, and Torres is starting to get a little bit better. LeMahieu almost got a hold of one last night. Uh, Wind is blowing in a little bit here, so it does help pitching lightly, but I'm still going to put that on the shelf. And Rodon, since Eddie strikes out, but Rodon has just seen some negative regression recently, and Cincinnati's starting to get some pieces back here. India was bad to start out the season. He was like on the bench or down the bottom of the lineup, and now he's back to lead off and doing well. Cruz had a decent last night with home runs, stolen bases. Candelario is always good. Stevenson's back. Got the baby narrative there. Marte was great in spring training until he got benched for PEDs for half a season. So uh, and the bottom of the lineup's okay. Once they start getting like healthy and some of those pieces back, I think they could be decent. So the strikeout rate is actually in the last 14 days they've fallen out of the top 10 K rate, but there are some in the lineup. So you can make a case for Rendon, but not one of my favorite plays here. Bat wise, I think Cincinnati makes a decent GPP stack for what I said. Baylor Cruz is kind of expensive, but at GPP, like I think you got to go with the boom bust there, but the rest of the pieces are pretty affordable, not too expensive. And the Yankees again, I just probably take the righties here, and Soto's good lefty on lefty. JD Davis is a decent break with Torres there. They're both in the 3K range. Helps you get the 6K bats in your line. Houston and Toronto, Blanco and Kikuchi here. Blanco started off the season strong. He's come back to earth a little bit here. But this Toronto team's a little bit banged up. I mean, Vlad has been hitting really well, but he's dealing with like a wrist injury. And Springer's coming on a little bit better too, but Blanco's been good against righties, and there's really no lefties here that like Horwitz is. I thought he had a lot of potential when he came up, but seemed to be like more of a contact hitter. I don't see a ton of power there. Varsho can take one out, but the rest of this lineup is just mostly right-handed. So uh, I think Blanco you can consider in the high salary range at 9K, but I don't love it. Kikuchi on the other side at 8K. Houston, besides the top maybe 3 or 4 in the order, is not as good. It's been, it's trying to throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks as they try to get like Tucker back in there. And the first base situation, that's been huge. Brady didn't work out for them, so they've just been not really had something consistent there. So like Kikuchi's hittable, but he can get some strikeouts. Houston actually is still top 5 and being patient at the plate. So I don't think there's a ton of Ks there. So he's in the medium range, but I don't know how much exposure I'm gonna have. Bat wise, I think Houston is a GPP stack here. I probably stick with the righties. I'm fine Alvarez lefty on lefty. But if you want to drop them off the stack and make it a little bit more affordable, then I'm fine with that. Blue Jays actually become a value stack now. There's nobody. Vlad is the most expensive guy here at 4.6, and everybody else is below that and actually really cheap, which is kind of shocking. So, um, we really, again, I think you really want to stack them here, but I don't think if they're facing a lefty, I maybe like a little bit better. But Toronto, you can put in play for like some of the fill-ins are definitely cheap there. San Francisco and Atlanta. In Atlanta, wind blowing in 5 miles per hour, but still 90 degrees, so it should still be decent hitting weather here. Jordan Hicks and Chris Sale. Even though Atlanta hasn't been as hot recently, it's they still definitely have some power and potential here. So I don't think I'm going to be playing much Hicks. And Chris Sale's probably the top pitcher on the slate here. I know they're going to throw a completely right-handed lineup at him, which is perfectly fine. But there's nobody here that really scares me that much. Sale has just been healthy and what we always thought he would be, and it's good to see. I'm just glad he's not on the Red Sox anymore, being a Yankees fan, in this form because that would be bad for us. But at 10-2, I think out a bit large slate and cash, I think if you can get up to him, then I think you do because he's like clearly the top pitcher on the slate here for raw points perspective. That way, San Francisco would just be a leverage stack on 11 gamer, throw a stack out there in case Sale has an off day. Then Slater would probably get pinch hit for if they bring in a righty. Ramos, Chapman. The bottom line is pretty bad here, so they're dirt cheap. Also, I mean they're in the 4K range, and then the rest are in the 2 and 3K range. So, I guess if they're gonna get to him early, throwing Matos and a Slater there because even if they get pinch hit for the damage is already done. Atlanta against Hicks, Clinic, Albies, Ozuna, Olson, Riley, top 5 to 6. Force Wall throw in there for like some speed every so often. But I'm not. They're the top stacks, but I'm probably not gonna have a ton of exposure. So. San Diego and Texas, Major and John Gray. Not touching Major. He's not been good recently. Texas woke up yesterday, put up 7. San Diego fell asleep yesterday, put up none, which was kind of shocking. But Evaldi, we thought he been a little reverse splitsy, and thought like maybe the righties might do some damage, but he actually threw a pretty decent game there. So Gray comes out today. I think he can be in play in the cheap range at 6.5 here, get you anywhere from 10 to 13 DK points. Uh, San Diego's been decent with strikeouts. Actually, they've been number 1 over the last 14 days. So, um, I guess maybe Tatis was bringing that average up a little bit. So we'll have to see like the guys that are in here, and they've been hitting well too. So that always helps with the strikeouts. So Gray again, cheap potentially, but I think there's better options, but you're not touching. And that wise, San Diego, I think they're in play definitely as a GPP stack here. Eras, I don't really play a ton because he's more of a contact hitter. Like Profile, Cronenworth, Machado's been decent. Solano, Merrill, probably stick to there. Uh, Higgy is if he's a catcher righty and righty, I like him better against lefties, but and then Bryce Johnson at the bottom's not a bad player either. Taking a shot on as a wraparound stack at only 2-3 a switch hitter. So the Rangers, definitely. I don't know if I'm gonna play 70 and righty at 5-1 here, but he's been a little quiet recently. But Josh Smith, low. Uh, Langford, Heim, in the bottom of this lineup again. They're just like bringing some guys up, like filling in for the guys that are injured. But you got to think that Seager's going to be back eventually, and Young's going to be back eventually. Even though I think he had a setback, and they should by the end of the season have a pretty powerful roster like they did last year that propelled them to the World Series. Philly and the Cubs, wind blowing out again, but only 5 miles per hour. So that does help, but not as much as if it picks up 82 degrees. So it should be decent hitting. Zach Wheeler and Shota and Manana. Wheeler, he's been inconsistent. And the Cubs also have been, but they can hit, especially at home here. So I think Wheeler's like a pivot off of Sale, but really not saving that much. He's at 9.8. Sales at you're only saving $400 here. So I would in cash games I definitely play up. GPPs if you want to take a shot on Wheeler, go for it. But there are some bats in the Chicago lineup in the top that are pretty do concern me a bit. I wouldn't say scare, but concern. Imanyana had some great outings, come back to earth, looked decent last time out. Obviously, Philly's watered down here. but you still have some decent right-handed bats in Turner, who I believe had 2 home runs yesterday. Baum can hit them. Castellanos, Sosa, um, and the rest of the lineup I'm not really concerned about there. So if you can get, if there's a time to play him, I guess this is the situation where the wind is not blowing out a ton, and you're getting Philly on down. They were like a great stack yesterday, and a couple of them put up runs, but not like the lefties that we probably thought would in the matchup with the wind. So a little disappointing. So I think Philly is still a top GPP stack, but again, I'd stick with the righties here, like Turner, Baum, Castellanos, Sosa. Merrifield doesn't really have a ton of power anymore. He's more of like a. I think they should lead him off over Stott, though. And if he does, then that's the potential just for him to get on and score runs and stuff. I think if Whit Merrifield leads off, I'd put him in the stack. If he's betting 6, I'd probably just go 4 Phillies. I would go 5. Cubs, same thing here. Take the lefties, Bush, Bellinger, Suzuki's okay, both sides, and Hap. I'd probably just leave it at that 4-man stack also. Bay in Kansas City, like 11 game slate. This might be a cross off. Pupiot and Waka, I think both are in play as pitchers. Like Kansas City's pretty neutral with strikeouts, and but yeah, it's a decent strikeout pitcher, so maybe get some there. But it's an offense that can wake up and be dangerous. But with the rainy conditions and the wind blowing in, then that might help pitching a little bit here. And Waka's been decent. Tampa Bay is just not as like a middle of the road team with everything too. So you're just like this is like a game of averageness. Bat wise, like nobody really sticks out here. So I think these are just plays if you need them as like fill-ins. I wouldn't stack the game. I'm not excited about really anything here. So just gonna kind of cross this one off the slate. If you need to pull from this game to fill out your lineup, due to salary constrictions, like you ended up with like just 7K and want to pick one of these pitchers and you have the rest of your lineup you love, then go for it. Or if there's one bat here that um you're in like no man's land and they're the only thing that you have left, then go for it. But other than that, I'm probably not touching it. Detroit and the Twins here. Montero, 4K pitcher, and Festa getting, I think it was only his second start here. He had like a 9 ERA in his first game out there. So uh, two pitchers that are really cheap here. One's at 4K, one's at 6.7. I don't think I'm touching Montero. I don't think he's going to go very deep in the game. And Festa with a 9 ERA, I think he could maybe be in play with he's got a little bit of K upside there, but I don't think I'm playing either one in cash, definitely. So Detroit, I think you can play as a cheap stack here. Besides Riley Green, who's their best player, and you want to get him in your stack. The rest of them are like super cheap to fill in. Minnesota, I think, is going to be like one of the top stacks on the slate here, just because Montero is just been so bad that I think it's a great place to target here. And the Minnesota bats like are not super expensive. It looks like Royce might have got injured again. So I don't know if he'll be in the lineup, but that makes it pretty cheap. So yeah, just looking at the box scores, Montero played Pitt and Philly, and he gave up 5 earned runs and 4 earned runs, and he's given up 3 home runs. So, and again, I don't know if Lewis will be in. He's day to day with a groin, so getting an MRI. We'll see how he's been doing. Hopefully, he's healthy, and he and Buckton just like this team just cannot. If they all stay healthy, like they have so much more potential here, but they still have 5 total. There's still a lot of great bats in here. Castro leading off decent. Correa, Larnage. I think you can play anybody against Montero. Don't worry about the splits. Um, just as many Minnesota as you can get in your lineup is probably a decent way to go. Force Field, Milwaukee Brewers and Colorado. Colin Ray and Dakota Hudson, not touching either. I think maybe make a case for Ray. There have been some away pitchers that have come into cores and been decent. The wind is blowing in 11 miles per hour, but it's still 88 degrees, and that wind can still cause havoc and balls hit. So, because sometimes it's a swirling wind and it just carries the ball in different directions and just drops it in the most inopportune places to play defense on it. So, Milwaukee let us down last night, but probably the top stack on the slate here again with 6.14 total. They're all expensive, but Mitchell and Frelick, Ortiz, like some at the bottom of the lineup, you can get some value, maybe do some wraparound or uh, but if you're trying to go with the top guys there, you're definitely gonna pay up if you're trying to go Contreras, Yelich, and Damas. Now there are two 4K pitchers on the slate, and we know they're starting and we know they're bad. But if they get any points for you over like, you put an 8 or 9K pitcher in there that gets like blown up like Kikuchi, if like Houston goes off on him. I was saying looking at YOLO GPP, you can get this full stack and I did take the two 4K pictures and I put a full stack of Milwaukee in there, and I forget who the other team is. Maybe it was Atlanta, like filled in perfectly in the other three spots. And let's just figure, hey, let's try it in the mini max $3 one and see what happens there. So Milwaukee definitely mix and match them with Minnesota if you can there. Colorado on the other side, I think is definitely in play, like Blackman, McMillan, uh, Tovar, but I don't know if I'm playing uh, a lot more of the right-handed bats. So bullpen wise, Milwaukee has been like one of the top ones with the ERA around like 3.15. So I think definitely after the starting pitcher, they should be able to shut them down. So I'm not super high in Colorado here. The Angels and the Athletics, Daniel and Estes. Daniel is probably my favorite SP2 on the slate. And if you want to get cute and fade all the top ones, you can make him an ST1, SP1 if you can find a decent guy to pair with him. And if that's a great way to get a full stack there of the Milwaukee bats, if you want. Estes on the other side is okay too. I think he's my favorite like cheap one here. So maybe you just put the two of these here. You're not going to get the win, but both of them do decent against lineups that have a 4 total and definitely have some strikeouts here. You have the fourth and fifth highest strikeout rate in Major League Baseball in this game on both sides. So maybe that's not a bad strategy. So Daniel and Estes are your SP1 and 2, and then play all the Milwaukee bats, and then I'm sure there's some decent fill-ins to get for the rest. So I'm going to try that also tonight. Um, and bat wise, yeah, I think they're probably just both leverage stacks. I think probably more England because Daniel I think is going to have a really good game here, and then the Angels maybe some cheap fill-ins for you. Arizona and the Dodgers, Mania and Stone. Here's the other 4K pitcher, but I don't know how deep he's going to go. It might be an opener, and then he might be long reliever. So keep an eye on that. If he is the opener and only going two, maybe the two 4K pitchers, that's not going to be as good. Maybe I'd have to like go up to like Estes and pay 2K more there. But you still be able to get a full walkie stack in if you're playing even Estes and a 4K pitcher that's not Mania. Stone had a really good game last time out, but I think that was an outlier. Arizona is okay, but we'll have to see how he does here. So I think in if you're paying up, like he would be my favorite, fourth or fifth favorite pitcher here. At 85 is not a bad price tag too. Probably have low ownership also. So if you're playing bats against him, obviously Caro Marte, Peterson, I'd probably stop there unless you want to go like Alex Thomas and do like a Will Brown thing, but I'm not going full Arizona stack. Dodgers, probably a good pivot off of Coors and Milwaukee if you think that they throw up another clunker. Otani, I mean, just so expensive, 6'6". Freeman, Haywood, Lux Abidjo, I'd probably just throw all the lefties there. But again, if this guy's not going that long, you could probably play like anybody in the Dodgers lineup that you want to, because then we're going to go to the Arizona bullpen, which is in the top 10 worst this season. So there's definitely some more run opportunity to keep the party going there. The Baltimore Orioles and the Seattle Mariners. Dean Creamer is coming back from the IL. He was pitching decently, and then like something happened. Obviously, he was injured. I think it's his like throwing triceps or whatever. So obviously, you could see it in his like last few starts before he went on the IL. He was out for like I think about a month, and he came back and he only pitched like a couple of games in the minor league, but he just got lit up, giving up home runs, had like 11 ERA. So I don't know if he's ready. And obviously, I think he's going to get a pitch count. I think people are going to look at the name and look at the price tag and not look at the context. And I think he's a trap here. I think you might see some sites promoting him, but I know Seattle has the highest by far. They're up to a 30% strikeout rate the last 2 weeks. So it looks like a dream matchup, but I think it's going to be a nightmare here. So Logan Gilbert on the other side, again, it's a tough matchup. Gilbert's been good, but I don't feel he's matchup proof. So I think in GPP, take some shots. But Baltimore is the fourth lowest in strikeout rate. It's kind of a maybe a park neutral, but maybe a little bit of an upgrade for them over their home stadium dimension wise, but there's still a lot of power and potential in this lineup. So Kramer's a no, Gilbert's some shots in GPP, but I'm not going heavy on him. Baltimore offense, definitely leverage that if Gilbert gets some ownership. Love to play them every single day. Henderson, Rushman, O'Hearn. I probably 1 through 5 is just where I'd go. They all have the splits advantage, and I'll definitely make a stack of them there. But I love Seattle as a GPP stack against Kramer. I know they've been disappointing, but with Crawford, um, Raleigh, Polanco, Calzone, Julio Rodriguez has just dropped down to the bottom because he's cooled off again at 5K. You don't even need to play him. The stack is so cheap that the most expensive ones you're paying for, like Raleigh at 4.3 and Crawford at 4.1. So they can make a lot happen. They can get you two decent pitchers. They can get you walkie bats. It's just a really good situation. So let's look at the build and get you on your way for your day. So give me Sale and give me Daniel. Those are my top two pitchers here. And I am going to go with Texas and Minnesota here. So on a catcher, I'll let you decide if you want Heim or if you want to take the Minnesota catcher. I think it's going to be Vasquez there. Um, if they're cheaper, just throw a punt in there. That's fine. And then Low at first base, Castro at second base. Uh, Smith has been one of the best batters on Texas this season. Love the spot in the order, love the splits advantage. Correa and Buxton, and then I'll let you figure out if you want to go more Minnesota to fill in the outfield. If you want to get Seager, that's Simeon in there. Castro is also outfield eligible, so you can if you punt catcher and punt the other outfielder, you should have enough salary to make that work. So that's what I got for you for cash. And then for GPP, Imiana or Stone, if you want to go there, if you drop down further, like I said, and go one of the 4K pitchers, that's fine. But I'm going Seattle and I'm going Milwaukee here. So France, Turing, Crawford, Yelich, Raleigh. I'll let you decide on Contreras if you're gonna pay up or if you want to go with Raleigh at the catcher there. And then third base, if you want to do Rojas as like a wraparound, or go with Ortiz there if he's in, and then I'll let you figure out who your last outfielder. If you want to take one of the cheap ones like Fralick or Chichino from Milwaukee, or if you want to throw in one of the cheap ones like Henniger um, or Calzone for Seattle to make it work. So, see how the lineups play around with it, and that's what I got for you. So, thanks for watching. If you have a question, put in the chat below. Hit me on Mega31 on Twitter X. Um, if these videos help us back, like, subscribe to our channel, share with your friends, and I will be back with 1 or 2 videos tomorrow, depending on how the slates are broken up. I haven't seen. I'm assuming there'll be day games. I'm assuming there'll be a night slate, so we'll have 4th of July coverage for you. So as you celebrate America's birthday and freedom with your family and friends, then you can enjoy some baseball DFS and hopefully win some money there too. So good luck in your contest tonight. You know how to get hold of me if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow.